Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with an Empire vs. Tomb King showdown. It's going to be your boy Boris facing off against Khalida here on the Lost Temple of Sotek. So yes, we do have the Templehof Luminark, which I know might seem like a bit of a meme unit. And usually the way we present it in our games is as a meme unit. But honestly, against Tomb Kings and sometimes against other undead factions, I actually think it's a really, really good piece of equipment. Let me go ahead and explain why. So firstly, it has the capability, if your opponent's micro slips, of just nuking their lord, their caster, any sort of a single entity. And on top of that, it has a really valuable thing that the Empire pretty much always wants, which is a net, right? So if, like, let's say a horseman or a carrion is diving into your backfield, you don't have something there to protect it, you need a little bit of extra time. Having the net of Amnitok and 3 charges of it, mind you, for free, well, it's not free, you're paying for it on this piece of equipment, but it's very, very good. So we do have the net there. For the rest of the army, it is going to be Flagellants and Sigmar Sons. They generally trade pretty well into the Tomb King's front line. Nehekar Warriors and Tomb Guard will, do okay against them, but I like to have something that can hold, which allows my missiles, my grenade launchers, my characters, and my heavy cavalry to really shine. And these guys can do it. And yeah, Sigmar Sons, I don't know if they actually beat a Tomb Guard unit. It's probably a pretty close fight. They'll for sure beat a Nehekar Warrior and crush through skeletons, but yeah, something that I need to test a little bit. Now, a couple basic archers as well. I'm on the fence about these guys, but I just wanted to bring them. They're dirt cheap, and I was like, hey, let's just have them shoot at Nehekar Warriors. And if my opponent wants to send like a carrion to shut them down, maybe thinking they're an actual threat, then that's a win for me, right? The carrion aren't going somewhere else. In the backfield, Sterling's Revenge, Free Company Militia, going to be creeping up, looking to shoot any armor, and that is pretty much it, aside from our Burning Headcaster here in the back. So for King of the Dead, coming in with the Khalida special. So Khalida's going to be here with the Netcaster, and looks like Shem's Burning Gaze as well, and that caster probably trying to goon my characters. Tomb Guard, a couple Nehekara Horsemen, and in the backfield we do have the very, very nasty Screaming Skull Catapults. These things are an absolute nightmare to deal with for sure. So if you guys are Empire players and you run into a Tomb Kings player, my advice would be to not use artillery. What I found every time I use a Sunmaker or any sort of cannons, good Tomb Kings players will just have like 3 or 4 carrion in reserve, and they're going to be able to swarm you, and carrion's melee defense is too high to kill quickly. So by the time you kill the carrion, they'll have already probably routed your cannon crew, maybe destroyed it. And losing a Sunmaker in the beginning can basically just be an auto loss, right? It's an 1800 gold artillery piece, which is super pricey. Whereas the Luminark is, a little bit more strong and independent, being kind of a wagon piece. So we are going to be shooting our first volley here. I figured let's just kind of send a message, and we do kill a catapult. That's not bad. It's nice. It's kind of like casting, you see that in Warhammer 2 quite a bit, or used to, where people would use like some sort of a missile spell to snipe artillery pieces, and the Luminark can kind of do that as well. Now, King of the Dead responds using, I believe, Hashem's Burning Gaze, or either that or Khalida's item. Yeah, it might have been the Venom Staff to try and snipe that. And up in the sky, we do see Boris under fire. It's just obviously the auto fire here on the Screaming Skull Catapults. Boris flew in their line of sight, and now they're obviously going to be switching on other targets like my Flagellants as well as my archers. So for reinforcements, our first wave, I do forget my Bright Wizard and Spearman back here for quite some time. We should call this one the good old tactical reserve, saving them for later. Another shot going downtown. It does hit the tree, though. This map is not really good for direct fire, but I still figured that having this bad boy shooting would be good. So we see a couple Nehekar Horsemen pushing into my backfield, trying to get onto my archers and shut down my missile pieces, but we do have a pretty good ambush here. We use the Net of Amnitok from the Templehof, which is going to be isolating these horsemen, basically guaranteeing me 600 gold value with very little losses in return. The Knights of Sigmar do come from reserve, Free Company Militia looking extra badass, and we are going to be getting a big Empire cavalry charge into these guys, and we should be able to break them, especially with Boris tanking their leadership so much. You can see the Blood Roar and Crush the Weak are active, so that's going to be negative 12 leadership in total, which is awesome. One of the reasons why Boris is so good is his ability to just like tank the leadership on things. So those guys are gone. You can see those horsemen are going to be paying the Troll Toll. Granted, the Screaming Skull Catapult's getting some pretty good damage back. Free Company Militia going to be repositioning here as Boris Todbringer does get caught in a net by King of the Dead. But now the Free Company Militia going to be lining up their pistols, putting some hurt on Khalida. It looks like she was trying to use a missile attack. We'll have to see what this actually does. Like some sort of a spell going down. It looks like maybe she canceled it. I'm not really sure. Templehof Luminark repositioning on the side, obviously trying to get line of sight on Khalida as well as this Light Wizard, and you can see the presence of the Templehof Luminark alone is going to be enough to ward off those characters. While the Zintler's Reichsguard I did summon in to deal with the other horsemen, and they were able to push them back. I think I actually destroyed them outright, I'm not sure. But now we're just using them as kind of a screening unit, just waiting, looking for openings. I obviously really want to get back there and use the catapults, but pushing into the Tomb King's backfield can be precarious. So I figured I want to soften them up a little bit before I do try and do that and clean up these backfield threats. So these horsemen are going to be falling to Boris. the archers and the wizard here, the other spearmen moving up onto the point. And now I figured let's push up. You know, I noticed he had skeleton spears and some tomb guard here, but let's go ahead and fight the spears and the chaff units in the front if he's not going to be switching the tomb guard with them. Although it looks like the tomb guard are going to be coming in, but overall it will give us a little bit of pushing momentum on this side. So then if I summon in some grenade launchers, maybe I can get through, but we'll have to see how that goes. Burning head attempt on the warriors here. Looks like it was mostly dodged, but now we have the dreaded grenade launchers of Sigmar coming out. Those things should do some work, while flagellants do lose to those warriors over there. It looks like it's a little bit of a scary engagement. Zintler's Reichsguard maneuvering from the western side of the battlefield, or eastern side, I suppose. I guess it all depends on the perspective here. They're going to be lancing their couches for Sigmar as they get in there and plow through some of these, one of these Nakar warriors. Yep. And their leadership, of course, is being tanked. Khalida trying to use her sneaky snake sniping rod, but it really doesn't do too much against Boris. It does apply poison, but overall, I think, you know, it just doesn't seem to be that great. Grenades are one of the big things that absolutely wreck the Tomb Kings. If you can get grenades against any of their infantry units, all of which have light armor, I think like Tomb Guard have like 50 armor, and that might be the cap that they have on the armor department on their infantry. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, grenade launchers are ubiquitously just really good here. And King has a proper response. He gets some carrion. He's going to be pushing me. I pull back the Zintler's Reichsguard, anticipating the carrion, and we will then push in and just peel these guys off and get the grenade launchers back online. But he does have a double cap right now. Here I have grenade launchers as well, so you can see normally the Tomb Guard will beat flagellants, and it looks like pretty decisively, actually. I guess their stat line is pretty good with their melee defense, and their output isn't bad either. But the grenades are doing good work, slowly wearing down these units, but another good response from King. He does summon in some Ushapti Great Bows in the back to kind of push them back. So these Outriders will be on the run, and I don't really have anything to protect them here, so that is a little bit unfortunate. And I was very focused on this side, so I didn't necessarily see that happening. Now the response is going to be double Free Company Militia, going to be moving up. I know I need a second objective soon, so I'm like, okay, time to pull the trigger. Let's get that capture weight. And the Luminark has just been sitting here, you know, shooting at his lord the entire game. And you can see Khalida actually, I believe, got hit, and so did the Light Priest. They both got tagged once, like pretty damn hard. So he's been hiding his characters, and that really is the power of the Luminark. Even if it's not necessarily killing something, it is going to be kind of keeping your opponent a little bit honest here. So I tried to get through. The Empire Knights tried to get through the back line, but didn't quite work out, as his netcaster was able to net down my Empire Knights. But now the Reichsguard Knights, I had a bit of a tricky choice. I was like, do I save these Outriders or do I go for the kill on the big open backfield? I saw that he had just summoned in the Kepler Guard, which means he doesn't have the resources to summon in any sort of cavalry or anything like that. So I think it's time to pull the trigger. He tries to use the Ushapti summon, but the Knights are able to get past it, and hopefully we'll be able to break down the crew. Those things have been doing brutal damage to me all game and still have a lot of ammo. Reichsguard Knight's going to be pulling into the other one, so we are going to be shutting down both catapults right here, which is going to be a big win for the forces of Sigmar. And yeah, those ones take a lot of damage, probably will be crumbling down. These guys not quite crumbling, but we will be staying in sustained combat for a hot moment here. In the meantime, Archer's still putting a little bit of hurt onto these units. Sigmar Sons winning their fight against the Tomb Guard just barely, and the Flagellants, of course, do lose, which is to be expected. But we do get the objective here. Temple of Luminark's going to be taking more and more shots, trying to give Khalida a little bit of pressure. The net does go down on Boris, so perhaps thinking about maybe attacking with Khalida, I'm not quite sure. And now he summons the correct answer, one of the correct answers against heavy cavalry that the Tomb Kings do have, via the Necropolis Knights with halberds. So got to be very careful about these guys. And it looks like he's trying to snipe Toddy using that snake staff as well as the Shem's Burning Gaze, but for some reason, oh, he friendly fired onto the back of his Necropolis Knights. That's pretty unfortunate. Not that it would have done a ton of damage anyways. But grenades are back, which is huge. So we got these guys. There's only, I think, 12 of them or 21 left, yeah. But still, they're able to kind of shoot through the tree line and put some hurt on. But unfortunately, those chosen of the gods are just pounding any of my grenade launchers I do bring in. And since it's on a map where, you know, cannons aren't great, and granted, I don't bring cannons much anyways, I try and shut down great bows with, like, other means. But, you know, a cannon direct wouldn't really work very well in this map. So we do get the side objective here. Sneaky Snake Knights are going to be moving in, but once again, the Temple of Luminark is going to be dropping a net on those bad boys. And Free Company Militia don't really have good armor piercing on their shots, but it still does add up. If you're able to just kind of shoot these helpless knights here, you don't have shields, you know, 1 damage at a time from, you know, how many units is this? 120 each? It adds up. Carrion jumping on Free Company Militia. Free Company should be able to fight off Carrion pretty well, and a Luminark shot there does do a fair amount of damage against the Necropolis Knights, which are down to about 60%. And grenade launchers have come back and will be unleashing some grenades onto the skeleton spearmen that are moving up. Now the Sneaky Snake Cav do move into the Free Company, and obviously Free Company in melee won't do a whole lot considering the 110 armor on these guys, but it's also, they're a halberd unit, so they're not going to be super efficient. Boris Todbringer can jump into the back, provide a little bit of support. Shem's Burning Gaze going down once again, also a Burning Head on the backfield to try and nullify the Kepler Guard, so that is a big value as we nail the Kepler Guard. Zintler's Reichsguard holding them back for as long as possible, and overall they allowed me to get that Burning Head, which really nullified the effectiveness of that unit. We are pulling ahead a little bit in value. Now Tomb Kings do have map-wide healing, but he didn't bring Lore. He brought like a very off-meta thing with the Lore of Light, So he's not getting the huge healing. He's still getting Realm of Souls. So the healing differential isn't really going to be a factor here as much. So Boris does go after the caster, able to get a big hit. That caster's at negative 26, negative 15. It is crumbling right now, and hopefully we will get the pick, and my dive will be worth it because King does get a little bit of a counterpunch here. Boris Todbringer does get netted and attacked. And the Luminark with the steel chair finishing off the Lich Priest. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Empire Knights on their way in to support Boris. Empire Knights on the charge. They only have a charge bonus of 48, but these Knights are very beat up, so it's not going to take a whole lot more effort to kind of fold them here, as they are sitting at about 2,000 HP. Crush the Weak is active, so currently their melee defense and melee attack is lowered, and the two Free Company Militia are going to be sitting, and just still putting good sustained fire into these. Archers are as well, and the Temple off Luminark is just waiting for Khalida to open up. And so overall, I don't think it's gotten like crazy value, but the nets alone have been worth it, right? And if it can finish off Khalida, then that's going to be a huge win for us. Backfield objective, it looks like it's going to be flipping potentially into our favor as I send more Flagellants up, as well as some Empire Knights, able to put some good pressure on them. The capture weight does go for the Sons of Sigmar right there, and the Free Company Militia continuing to fight pretty effectively in melee, backed up by Boris, as well as that Wizard and a couple Archers who are still shooting, and the Necropolis Knights do get dragged down. King doesn't have any artillery anymore either, so my infantry spam is going to be exponentially stronger. It looks like some Skeleton Chariots coming in to try and maybe clear through my massive bodies here, but with some Empire Knights nearby and or Toddy, it's going to be tough. All right, so Khalida's in combat here. The Temple off Luminark has line of sight. Khalida gets nailed down to 800 HP. Absolutely popped in the face. And Todbringer is going to be doing the finishing job here as he gets in. And Khalida is 100% going to be falling. So that Luminark, man, I'm telling you, don't sleep on that thing. Khalida's down to about 87 HP. She's going to be crumbling, but not before she does a little bit of damage there. We do see the Chariots moving in, but the Empire Knights and Toddy nearby should be able to hunt that character down. Or that chariot, I should say. Flagellants up on the point. It's going to be a triple cap, a rock hard triple cap. Obviously, King of the Dead down by about 1,500 to 2,000 value here. Flagellants pushing up in all directions. We do have a Tomb Scorpion. Tomb Scorpion is now going to be hunted down by Boris Todbringer. So he's heading over there. Should be able to solo that thing. Granted, it will take him. He's not Karl Franz. Franz is a much better anti-monster, anti-character. But again, Boris is more utility. He has healing. He also has the big leadership debuffs with Crush the Weak. So they're different. It depends. Karl is really good. Is better in a lot of matchups. But Toddy, I think, I don't know who's used them more. I'd have to really look at the matchup matrix and kind of see how that all breaks down. But now we start to summon in War Wagons. I don't like to start with War Wagons against Tomb Kings these days because Ushopti Grapo are so good against them. And since I don't have artillery to take the Ushopti Grapo out, they typically trade favorably. But in reserve, I do have 2 of the War Wagons. In case they don't have the counter to them, so I'll summon them pretty quickly. But a lot of Tomb Kings meta has been obviously spamming infantry and just going super wide with mass healing. So, wagons aren't necessarily super good against that either. That's where grenade launchers and, the other units you have really come in and shine. Boris going after the Tomb Scorpion. It's going to be pretty rough for the Tomb Kings to come back at this point, guys, so we can do a little bit of fast forwarding and just kind of break down the matchup. Overall, I think a big part of it, Big Burning Head able to roast those skeletons, and this objective, you can see we're able to kind of push into the Grapos back here. But just a little post-game breakdown, essentially, is I think the Lore of Light Khalida combo was really weak. It didn't seem to do a whole lot. You can see Boris here actually gets broken by the Tomb Scorpion, but it doesn't matter too much. Knight's coming in, and he'll come back and finish off that Scorpion. But I think that was one of the big weaknesses for sure. That was rough. And having the Luminark just kind of methodically sniping those characters was quite painful. But yeah, taking a look at the Tomb King's build, I mean, I think Grapos are good, but this map is also a little bit precarious. I can't help but think just a super wide Tomb King's build with carrion spam to shut down the grenade launchers would be the way, right? Because without grenade launchers, the Empire, yeah, you have heavy shock cavalry to deal with their infantry, but it's not super quick. So with the mass healing, quad carrion, I did like the catapult pick from King. I thought that was quite good. Even though they didn't get crazy value, they were still a big threat that forced me to dive into his backfield, right? And had the value trading been going worse for me, I might not have been able to even get back there. So let's see what else he had in reserve. So yeah, Necropolis Knights are always kind of a cool tech piece. I like the Ushopti. I do also like the catapults. You could go with a caster lord, like Kotep or something, double catapult and just a mass amount of infantry, spamming the Lore of Nakara spells. Because the net just didn't seem that useful here. I guess you can net down some Empire Knights and whatnot, but it definitely seemed very lackluster. As far as this build goes, I don't know. It seemed pretty good. Grenade launchers partially shut down, but still were a threat that had to be dealt with. Luminark was definitely a really, really valuable piece. Toddy, did okay, and everyone kind of shared the load there, as they say. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. Take care of yourselves. That is it for today. And Sigmar bless his ravaged body.